Okay, everyone, Thacker Pass, the situation has changed a little bit here. We are on the site and several individuals have moved further down the road and begun blocking the construction more actively. Workers came down the road, got in this heavy equipment right here, these two pieces of heavy equipment, and began preparing to move further to the west in Thacker Pass and destroy the land. So we have Dean Barlees and Doris Sam here have moved into a more strategic location, and they're blocking the equipment. So the workers have turned off their rigs and are just sitting there. We have no beef with them. We have no problem with them particularly whatsoever. Understand people trying to feed their family and get by. It's a hard world to survive in, and we have no problem with them. In fact, I hope they get a bonus today. So these two are standing here peacefully. These folks are holding a banner, blocking the road, and we have other supporters here who are recording, observing what's happening, and making sure that nothing nefarious goes on. So again, for those who aren't aware, we're here at Thacker Pass. It's 7 a.m. The workers usually begin work at 6 a.m. up here. And this morning they were met with direct action protesters, prayerful people who are here to say a prayer for the land, to say a prayer for the water, for the future generations, for the people here, the ancestors who were massacred here, the Paiute people who were killed in 1865 and in previous occasions, and also for people around the world who are affected by this mining. It's not just here, and this is a point that I made on my last live video, but I know some of you, I'm sure, weren't on that last live video. But what happens here is connected to everything all around the world, all these different issues, because this mine will use sulfur that comes from the Alberta tar sands. So we're in solidarity with all the people fighting the Alberta tar sands across that region of Canada. We're in solidarity with the people who are facing destruction and exploitation in the Congo because of cobalt mining that also goes into electric vehicle batteries. We're in solidarity with the people fighting nickel extraction in places like Indonesia, where nickel mining has devastated the land, because lithium from Thacker Pass might end up in the very same batteries sandwiched together with nickel from these communities in Indonesia that are facing very similar destruction to what's happening here. Different context, different location, different language, different country, different side of the world, but the story is the same, the struggle is the same. So people are standing here, and people are standing up all over the world. You know, here in the United States, in some ways we're lucky. In some ways we're very lucky that we have a tradition of nonviolent civil disobedience. We have a tradition of people standing up peacefully, and sometimes not so peacefully, but in this case peacefully, for the land, for what they believe in, for the future, and for justice. And in many areas around the world, if you did this kind of thing, you might get shot. You might get hauled off to jail and tortured. You might get killed. You might get indefinite detention. You might get all kinds of terrible things happening to you. I have friends who are environmental activists in the Philippines, one of the most dangerous countries in the world to be an environmentalist. Hundreds of environmentalists there have been killed. Hundreds of people. And that has a chilling effect. And so we need to fight for our rights to protest, to express ourselves, and fight for our rights to change this situation, to change the laws, to change the change the country we live in all kinds of different ways, to change the world we live in. And if you don't exercise your rights, you lose them. And so that's one reason why we're here too, is to stand up and say, no more, this is not okay. The law may say that Lithium Nevada is allowed to destroy this place. The law says that, but we know that there's a higher law. There's a moral law. There's the ethical law. There's a spiritual law. And it, in that context, in that situation, this is righteous. And, Martin Luther King said that himself often. He talked about when the law is unjust, the right thing to do is to disobey the law. And we're in that tradition right now. We're in that tradition today. And that's a tradition all over the world that people have followed in different ways. And so thank you all for joining us. We're here at Thacker Pass, Pahimaha. Construction is blocked, at least partially, for today. The prayer continues. We have more workers coming into the site. We have more activity, vehicles coming and going. We know the police have been called. There are several drones up in the air. I don't know who those belong to. We're assuming that journalists and other people are on their way. There's live streams going on. There's videographers here, photographers, and people are standing up. Right over here, I'll point to it. That little dot right there is Sentinel Rock, also known as Nipple Rock. And right below that is where we believe the Thacker Pass massacre began on September 12, 1865. It began right at dawn, right about the same time that we showed up this morning. And it happened when a group of soldiers with the U.S. Army, the cavalry, attacked a camp of northern Paiute men, women, children, elders, and killed at least 31 of them, perhaps as many as 50 or more. And there are many accounts of this massacre that talk about the people running. You don't stand still when you're being shot at. You don't stand still when you're in fear for your life. You run. And the BLM, the government, the lithium company has argued that this is not significant, that this is not important because it happened slightly outside of BLM land on private property. It may have began there. We don't know. There's only one source that talks about an approximate location where it might have begun, and that source is from 1868. This was not a GPS, global positioning system, modern survey that pinpoints an exact location. This was one man with literal chains, using chains to measure the length and distances on the land, out here saying, "This is what I saw," writing in cursive and handwriting on an old school notebook that's preserved in the BLM records saying this massacre took place here. What we do know from the accounts, the newspaper accounts of that massacre, which were published in papers throughout the northern Nevada, southern Idaho area at the time of that massacre in 1865, is that people ran. It was described as a running battle that went on for hours, and people fled. And we know that one of the people who fled was named Oksam, and Oksam was an ancestor of Doris, who's right here. That's Doris, and Oksam was her relative. May also be have been a relative and ancestor of Dean. I'm not sure. A lot of these families up here are related to each other and connected in many ways. And Oksam ran from near Sentinel Rock up to the northwest, up in this direction to Disaster Peak, which is up there. So for all we know, 150 odd years ago, Oksam rode his horse fleeing for his life after seeing his family killed right here, directly right here under our feet as we stand here, where these people are standing. I've seen a lot of people crying this morning and people praying, and I know we're all feeling this. This is, there's a lot of people with bowed heads and somber thoughts and feelings because this is an important thing. This is a meaningful thing, and it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's really hard to come out here and see this place that I love so much being bulldozed and destroyed. and to see hundreds, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 acres of sagebrush crushed and ripped up by bulldozers right down there on the horizon. They didn't have a choice to move. They had nowhere to go. That's their home. And it really hurts to see that. And it should hurt. We should open ourselves to that. We should allow ourselves to feel that. But of course, the mining companies are always looking for money. The thing is, a lot of the major executives, the major investors in this project, have probably never been here. Not even once. They've probably never been to this place. Thacker Pass to them is probably a number on a spreadsheet. You know, it's a calculation. It's a source of profit. It's a source of raw materials for a supply chain. It's not habitat. It's not water. It's not sunrises and sunsets. It's not the beauty after a storm blows through in the spring and the flowers are bright and colorful. It's not the coyotes howling under the full moon. It's not a place where ancestors were killed and where people gather today to sit around the fire, to do ceremony, to pray. It's not any of those things to them that it is to us. And, you know, so in many ways, this is a real clash of worldviews that we're seeing. You know, it's a clash that we've seen for hundreds of years and probably much longer. The clash between this worldview that says the world is there for us to exploit, for us to take what we want. And, you know, an alternative worldview, which says we have been born into this beautiful world. We have this blessing to be a part of this. And we have responsibilities as a result of that. We're born into this family and we have to participate as part of this family of life. We have to participate as a good family member. We have to be a good relative. And, you know I feel that way. You know, it's easy for people to sort of mock that attitude and say, oh, you're romanticizing it. It's so silly and, you know, the things people say, right? But it's not. This is quite literally true, right? We are related to all these plants and animals out here. We all emerged from the same life. And we rely on each other, right? All of our food, every breath of air we take, every sip of water, every drink, all our clothing, our medicine, our shelter, everything that we have comes from the earth, ultimately, comes from the land. And when we don't recognize that, when we let, you know, bullies run amok and control the whole situation, when we let bullies control the world, which is really the situation that we're in this country, and in much of the world, then we're going to get bad outcomes. So in many ways, I don't feel animosity towards the people behind this mine. I don't feel like they're awful people or evil. I feel like they're little children who are misguided. You know, I feel like they're little kids who are acting greedy. And, you know, we all have that inside us. I've been greedy plenty of times in my life. You know, we all have. Like, we all have those capacities inside us to go down roads that aren't good and aren't responsible and aren't healthy for us and for other people and for the future. And so I feel anger towards them, certainly sometimes, but I also just feel pity, because it's a real shame to get to 40, 50, 60 years old, to be an adult, to be fully grown, and to not have a greater sense of responsibility to the future and to future generations. And, you know, it's not necessarily their fault. That's the world we live in. That's what people have been taught. That's the way people have been brought up, is to think this is normal. And this is just, it's okay. This is how we do things. We dig, we extract, we exploit, we grow, we consume, we live out the American dream. A lot of people just feel like that's the way it's always been. That's how it should be. But that's one choice. That's one way of living. And it's not particularly good for our mental health, for our well-being as individuals. I mean, the American culture is not a happy, well-adjusted, spiritually rooted culture. I mean, you look at everything that's going wrong in this country, the violence, the shootings, the discord, it's a mess. And I think a lot of that in ways is related to the destruction of the land and places like this. It's related to the fact that most people in this culture, especially the leaders, are not well, are really not doing well. And that's very sad. It's very, very sad. And, I don't say that as like I'm better than everyone else or something and I've got it all figured out. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. Like, I have my own problems. I have my own issues. I'm not perfect. None of us are. We're all human. And we need to work through these things together. We need to come up with a better way. And so these people are taking a stand against the destruction of this land. The lawsuit angle has been tried. The lawsuits to stop the Thacker Pass lithium mine and protect Pahimaha have not worked. The law is not on the side of the land. The law is on the side of the corporations. And when you have lawyers telling you that, you should listen to them. You should listen to them when they say that. We use the public commenting process. I myself put in a public comment on this mine in 2020, talking about the problems with it and the wildlife it would destroy and how it's greenwashing. And that didn't help. I was at the hearings. A lot of us were at the hearings, public hearings, the public meetings, speaking out against this project, and raising our voices and reaching out to Secretary Deb Haaland, reaching out to Nevada senators, to other politicians around the country, trying to get people to help, to overturn the permit, to stop this project. And none of it has worked. None of it has worked so far. So how do you respond to that? What do you do when the democratic process fails to uphold justice? That's the situation we're in here. And so that's why these brave people are standing up. These machines were turned on and running here 15 minutes ago. This excavator was turned on and started moving down the road, and folks ran and got in front of it and stopped it. That's something that I've seen before. I was at direct action against the Thacker Pass, or against the tar sands in Utah years ago. And I'll never forget what I saw. I saw this incredibly brave young man. His name was Louis. He was from the Lakota Nation. I think he was from Pine Ridge, actually. I saw him run in front of this piece of heavy equipment, this truck that was moving fast, going 30 miles an hour, trying to accelerate past people and get into the work site. And he ran in front of it, and he just crouched down. He crouched down like he was fully expecting to get hit by that truck. And, there's a time to turn the other cheek and take the blow and be prepared to sacrifice. And there's a time to do something different. But, I'll never forget that to this day, because that was one of the bravest things I've ever seen. And I felt echoes of that today, watching some of these brave people run in front of this piece of heavy equipment and put their bodies, literally put themselves between the machine, this machine, and the land that they plan to destroy with this machine. And that's, I think that's an important piece of this, is we're so used to living in this world where political action is posting on Facebook, putting up a video on Facebook, right? Which is fine and good. That's important too. But But there comes a time, there always comes a time when something else is needed, when people need to put themselves between the machine and the planet. So, again, Doris Sam and Dean Barlise are here in prayer, blocking the road, blocking the construction, blocking the equipment at Thacker Pass from constructing the Thacker Pass lithium mine. We've been here for over 2 hours now. There's no police on site yet. They definitely know what's going on up here, and I'm assuming that they're gathering their people and making a plan. So we're expecting them to come out at some point, probably soon. But we're here, and we don't plan to move. So I'm going to sign off for now, take a bathroom break. That's just real. And get my sun hat, because it's finally warming up. It's been freezing this morning. It was probably about 25, 28 this morning, and now it's warming up a little bit. So thank you for watching. Please share. Let people know this is going on. One of our allies will drop a link in the chat and in the description here of how people can support if they want to donate. We're definitely going to need some donations for legal fund, for bailing people out potentially. So if folks can chip in, I understand if you can't. I'm very poor myself, but every bit makes a difference. So thank you for that, and thank you for watching. Thank you very much. I'll go live again soon, and this is my third or fourth live of the day. So if you want to go back and watch some of the earlier ones to get a sense of what happened, go ahead and do that. They're on my page, and we will be back online live soon. Thank you.